The queen asked her daughter, "Who is that?" She replied, "My warrior." The sky was a canvas of deep purple and gold, and the air shimmered with the quiet hum of advanced energy grids powering the palace. Princess Amara stood on the highest balcony, her hair flowing in the gentle wind. She often came here to watch the sky and dream about the stars beyond her world. The palace had been peaceful for decades, and yet something in her heart told her that peace was fragile, like glass ready to break. "Amara, why do you spend so much time staring at nothing?" a soft, warm voice asked. The queen, her mother, approached from behind. She moved with a quiet authority, her long robe gliding over the balcony floor. She had ruled Aurora Prime wisely for many years, and the weight of her crown was evident in the calm but sharp gaze in her eyes. Amara smiled at her mother. "I am not staring at nothing, mother. I am watching the stars. One day I want to see what lies beyond them." The queen smiled faintly but did not comment further. She had long learned that her daughter's curiosity was like the river of Aurora Prime itself, unstoppable and sometimes unpredictable. Suddenly, the calm of the evening was broken by a sharp, unusual hum. A ripple in the air, almost like the sky itself was bending, caught their attention. Amara and her mother turned toward the palace gates. There, in the distance, a strange object appeared. It glimmered as it fell through the sky, a lone starship descending slowly, its hull shining under the last rays of the sun. "Mother, look," Amara whispered, her voice trembling slightly with excitement. "That ship, it is coming here." The queen's eyes narrowed. She had seen many ships, both friendly and hostile, approach Aurora Prime. But this one was different. Its design was unlike any known alien technology in the archives of the palace. Smooth and strong, yet with an energy signature that was raw, almost primal. "Prepare the gates," the queen ordered, her voice calm but commanding. "I want every defense ready, and send a message to the council. We do not know who or what arrives tonight." Amara's eyes sparkled. She had always loved adventure, though she rarely got the chance to experience it beyond her training rooms and classrooms. Now, it seemed that adventure had come to her doorstep. The starship landed with a soft thud. The hum faded into silence, and a faint mist rolled around its base. Guards approached carefully, their energy weapons ready, yet their movements careful, respectful. The palace gates opened slowly, and the massive doors revealed the figure standing at the ship's entrance. The figure was human. His armor was sleek, fitted, and covered in marks that suggested countless battles. His face was strong and weathered, showing both youth and experience. His eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the palace courtyard. When he finally noticed the queen and her daughter on the balcony, he straightened, a slight bow in respect, yet there was no fear in him. "Who is that?" the queen asked her daughter quietly. Amara did not hesitate. She could not stop the words from leaving her lips. "My warrior," she replied, her eyes fixed on the human who had just arrived. The queen raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She had learned long ago that her daughter's instincts were often correct, even when the reasoning was unclear. The human stepped forward, and as he walked, the mist seemed to curl around him like a protective cloak. The guards instinctively moved back, sensing a strength in him that they could not fully understand. "My name is Kale," the human said in a calm, strong voice. "I come from a world far from here, seeking a place to help. I mean no harm to Aurora Prime." The queen studied him closely. The council had always spoken of humans as rare travelers in this sector of the galaxy, often admired for their resilience, but also considered unpredictable. Kale did not appear weak, but he was unlike the elite Auroran warriors she had trained for decades. There was something in his presence that suggested he was more than he seemed. "Very well, Kale," the queen said finally. "You may stay within the palace, but you will be watched. Any sign of betrayal and the consequences will be severe." Kale nodded once. "I understand, Your Majesty." Amara felt a spark of excitement she could not contain. She had always dreamed of meeting someone like Kale, someone who could challenge her ideas, someone strong yet different from the people she had known all her life. Over the next hours, Kale was introduced to the palace staff, shown to the guest quarters, and allowed to rest. Amara, unable to wait, stayed by the balcony, watching the stars and wondering about Kale's world. She imagined distant planets, human cities filled with machines and energy, and people who had survived challenges that no Auroran could even imagine. Her heart raced at the thought that Kale might share some of his stories, some of his wisdom. That evening, a banquet was held in honor of the unexpected guest. The queen presided at the head of the table, with Amara at her side. Kale took his place humbly, observing the traditions and etiquette of the palace. He answered questions with politeness and intelligence, never boasting, yet never hiding his strength. Amara noticed how the other guests watched him. Whispers passed through the room, some in admiration, some in disbelief, but she paid them no mind. Her gaze never left Kale. There was something about him that drew her in, something beyond skill or appearance. It was his presence, quiet, confident, and yet powerful. After the banquet, Amara found herself walking toward the palace gardens. The moonlight reflected off the crystal fountains, creating small rainbows in the mist. Kale was already there, standing by a fountain, seemingly waiting. "You came," she said softly. Kale looked at her and nodded. "I wanted to see the gardens. Your palace is beautiful." Amara smiled. "I have watched these stars and these gardens for years, but I have never thought someone like you could arrive and change everything." Kale tilted his head slightly. "Change is often unexpected, but sometimes it is necessary." They walked together in silence, listening to the soft trickle of water and the distant hum of the city. Amara felt a strange comfort in his presence, as if the universe had sent him to guide her, protect her, or perhaps teach her something she did not yet understand. Later that night, the queen observed them from her balcony. She did not interfere. She had seen the connection form, subtle yet undeniable. There was a spark of hope in her daughter's eyes, a spark she had not seen in many years. Aurora Prime had always been a realm of order and careful planning. But now, with the arrival of Kale, the unexpected had entered their lives. The queen knew that history often remembered those who could face the unknown and turn it into an advantage. Whether Kale was friend or foe, one thing was clear: he was not ordinary. The stars above shone brighter that night, as if the universe itself had recognized the arrival of something remarkable. And Princess Amara, staring at the sky, whispered quietly, "My warrior." Kale did not hear her words, but he felt the weight of them. Perhaps he was not here by chance. Perhaps Aurora Prime, this palace, and this princess held a destiny he had yet to discover. The night was quiet, but the air was charged with possibility. A new chapter had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The next morning, Aurora Prime glowed under a soft pink sky. The city was alive with energy, and the palace staff moved quickly to prepare for the day. Princess Amara woke early, her mind still filled with images of Kale. She could not stop thinking about him. Who was he really? Where had he come from? And why had he chosen to arrive at Aurora Prime? The queen, as always, moved with purpose. She called her council together in the main hall, the grand room filled with tall columns and floating holographic displays. The council members were all seasoned leaders, each representing a different part of the realm. They were wise, intelligent, and cautious, but today they faced a question none had faced before: what to do with Kale, the human warrior. "He seems capable," said High Commander Solon, the head of the palace defense forces. "I watched him last night. He carries himself with confidence, yet he obeys our protocols. But humans, they are unpredictable. We must be careful." The queen nodded. "Yes, but unpredictability can be a strength as well. We will observe him closely. He will train with our warriors. We must see if he truly brings value to Aurora Prime." Amara stood quietly near the back of the hall, listening. She felt a spark of excitement. She knew deep down that Kale was not just another warrior. There was something extraordinary about him, something she could not yet put into words. Later that day, Kale was brought to the palace training grounds. The arena was massive, designed for combat practice in both gravity and zero-gravity environments. Machines hovered silently, projecting holographic enemies, and advanced drones zipped through the air to test the warriors' reflexes. Kale stepped onto the arena floor, his boots clicking softly against the metal surface. He looked around, taking in the machines, the drones, and the weapons. Unlike the Aurorans, he did not seem overwhelmed. His eyes were sharp, calculating, and full of focus. High Commander Solon watched from above. "Let us see what he can do," he said quietly. The first test began. The drones moved quickly, firing harmless energy bolts designed to test reflexes and strategy. The Auroran warriors moved with precision, following strict rules and protocols. But Kale did not follow the rules. He moved unpredictably, using the environment in ways the drones could not anticipate. He ducked behind a hovering platform, rolled under a sliding beam, and even used a projected holographic wall as cover to confuse the machines. The council watched in awe. "Incredible," whispered one of the members. "He is not like us. He is better than any soldier we have." Amara's eyes sparkled. She had never seen anything like this before. "He is amazing," she whispered to herself. "My warrior really is extraordinary." Kale completed the test in record time, not because he was faster or stronger, but because he adapted to every challenge in a way no machine, or even trained Auroran, could predict. The queen observed quietly, her mind calculating. She knew that unpredictability was dangerous, yes, but in the hands of someone disciplined and honorable, it could be the greatest weapon Aurora Prime had ever seen. After the initial training, Kale began working with small groups of Auroran soldiers. At first, they were skeptical. The Aurorans were trained to follow strict rules, to calculate and execute commands precisely. Kale taught them something entirely different: adaptability. He showed them how to respond to unexpected situations, how to trust their instincts, and how to use their environment to their advantage. At first, some soldiers resisted. "This is not the proper way to fight," one young warrior said. "Our training is perfect." "We do not need improvisation," Kale smiled calmly. "Sometimes the perfect plan fails because life is not perfect," he said. "You must be ready to change, to think, and to act. That is the true strength." Slowly, the soldiers began to see his point. When they practiced his methods, they moved faster, reacted better, and made fewer mistakes. Even the most experienced warriors started to admire him. Kale's presence was transforming their approach to combat, blending human ingenuity with Auroran precision. Amara often watched from the sidelines, fascinated. She noticed that Kale did not just teach strength, he taught confidence. The soldiers began to smile more, move with more purpose, and trust their instincts. She realized that his gift was not just in fighting, it was in inspiring others to believe in themselves. That evening, after the day's training, Amara found Kale in the palace gardens once again. The moon had risen, casting silver light on the crystal fountains and blooming flowers. She approached quietly. "You were amazing today," she said. "I never thought anyone could teach our warriors anything new, and yet you did." Kale looked at her, a small smile on his lips. "It is not just about teaching," he said. "It is about showing them that they are capable. Sometimes people forget that they have strength inside them. My job is to help them remember." Amara nodded, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "You are not just a warrior. You are something more. I do not know what exactly, but you inspire people. You inspire me." Kale's expression softened. "That is why I am here. I am not here to take control or show power. I am here to help, to protect, to guide." The two of them walked among the fountains, listening to the quiet music of water and wind. Amara could not help but wonder about Kale's past. Where had he come from? What battles had he fought? And why had he chosen Aurora Prime, of all places, to arrive? Meanwhile, the council was busy studying reports from the training grounds. They were amazed at Kale's abilities, but cautious. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and their unpredictability could not be ignored. Some members were concerned that relying too much on Kale might be dangerous. High Commander Solon, however, saw potential. "We cannot ignore what he brings," he said to the Queen. "Our enemies are strong and the future is uncertain. Kale's methods, they could give us an edge we have never had before." The Queen considered this. She had ruled Aurora Prime for many decades, and she knew that adaptability and innovation were often more valuable than raw strength. "Very well," she said finally. "Kale will continue his training with the warriors. We will observe closely. But I sense he may be exactly what we need." Days passed, and Kale's influence grew. He trained the soldiers not only in combat but also in teamwork, strategy, and resilience. He encouraged them to think creatively, to trust each other, and to never underestimate the power of a single human mind working in harmony with others. Amara joined the training often, eager to learn. Kale was patient with her, guiding her through exercises and teaching her the importance of both physical skill and mental focus. She began to feel stronger, more confident, and more capable than ever before. One day, a challenge was announced, a simulation of an alien invasion. The palace created holographic enemies designed to mimic the tactics of known hostile civilizations. The Auroran soldiers were confident. They had practiced for years, and the simulations usually tested their skills to the limit. Kale led a small team, including Amara, into the simulation. From the start, he ignored the usual rules. Instead of following predictable patterns, he moved unpredictably, using the environment, creating distractions, and forcing the soldiers to think on their feet. At first, the team was confused, but soon they began to anticipate Kale's moves, adapting in ways they never had before. By the end of the exercise, the team had not only defeated the simulated enemies, but had done so faster and with fewer mistakes than any previous training group. The council watched in stunned silence. "Remarkable," whispered one of the members. "He has turned our soldiers into something greater than we imagined." Amara felt pride and excitement swelling in her chest. Kale had shown her that humans, though rare in the galaxy, had a unique advantage: adaptability, creativity, and the ability to inspire others. These were qualities no machine or protocol could replicate. That night, the queen observed her daughter and Kale from afar. She saw how Amara's eyes shone with admiration and curiosity. She saw how the human's presence had transformed her warriors and even the council members. Perhaps this human, Kale, was not just a visitor. Perhaps he was a turning point for Aurora Prime, a bridge to a future where humans and Aurorans could face challenges together. As the moon rose high in the sky, Kale stood beside Amara once more. "The stars are vast," he said quietly, "and many dangers lie out there, but if we work together, adapt, and trust ourselves, we can face anything." Amara nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I believe you," she said simply. "You have already changed so much here. I want to learn everything from you." Kale looked at her with a calm, steady gaze. "Then we will start tomorrow, and together we will make sure Aurora Prime is ready for whatever comes next." And so the human warrior began to teach, guide, and inspire a civilization that had known order and precision for centuries. Kale's presence was not just a curiosity anymore. It was a promise. A promise that humanity, with its ingenuity and spirit, could make a difference even among the stars. The night was quiet, but it carried the sense of beginnings. The future of Aurora Prime and the galaxy beyond was changing. And at the heart of it all, Kale, the human warrior, had become a symbol of hope, strength, and the extraordinary potential of what humans could offer. The peace of Aurora Prime lasted only a few weeks after Kale's arrival. The skies, once calm and shimmering with the colors of dawn and sunset, now carried a subtle tension, as if the universe itself whispered a warning. Scouts from the outer sectors had sent urgent reports. The Vorath Collective, a ruthless fleet of conquerors from the neighboring galaxies, was heading toward Aurora Prime. Their fleets were massive, well-armed, and highly trained. Their reputation was fearsome, and many worlds had fallen before them. The Queen gathered her council immediately. The main hall, filled with light and holographic maps of the galaxy, was alive with urgency. Aurora Prime had never faced a threat of this scale in generations. Soldiers, strategists, and scholars debated fiercely, trying to find the best way to defend their world. "The Vorath are efficient and cruel," said High Commander Solon. "Our standard defenses may hold them off temporarily, but we need more than shields and drones. We need strategy and a warrior capable of seeing what they cannot." The Queen's gaze turned toward Kale, who stood silently in the back of the hall. Though the council watched him with caution, the Queen had come to trust her daughter's instincts. And Princess Amara, standing beside her mother, knew exactly what she thought. "Kale," the Queen said, "you will lead the training for special combat squads. We must prepare for their attack. Your human methods, unconventional as they are, may be our best hope." Kale nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty, but we must act quickly. The Vorath do not give warning. They strike when the opportunity is strongest. We need to be ready for anything." Amara felt a thrill in her chest. She had watched Kale train the soldiers before, but now the stakes were real. This was no simulation, no test. Lives were on the line, and the survival of Aurora Prime depended on Kale's guidance. Over the next days, Kale worked tirelessly with the soldiers. He divided them into small, agile squads instead of large formations. He taught them to move unpredictably, to strike and retreat, to use the palace and city as terrain for strategic advantage. He emphasized creativity, adaptability, and teamwork, skills the Aurorans had rarely practiced in such a way. One day, during a training exercise, Kale led a squad through a simulation of a Vorath landing. Holographic ships hovered above the palace grounds, releasing waves of simulated invaders. Soldiers reacted with their usual precision, but Kale called out, "No. You cannot predict their moves. React, don't just follow orders. Use your eyes, your mind, your surroundings." The soldiers hesitated at first, unsure. But then, under Kale's guidance, they began to improvise. They leapt from platforms, used shadows as cover, and set traps using holographic barriers. The simulation ended with their squad defeating the holographic invaders faster than anyone had ever done before. Amara watched in awe. She noticed how Kale never forced them to follow one method. He encouraged them to think for themselves, to trust their instincts. "This is what makes him extraordinary," she whispered to herself. "He brings out the best in everyone." But while training continued, the threat of the Vorath fleet grew closer. Scout reports indicated that the enemy ships would reach Aurora Prime within days. Panic and fear began to ripple through the city. Citizens whispered about the unstoppable power of the Vorath, about worlds destroyed and civilizations crushed. Kale, sensing the fear, called for a gathering of the city's defenders. Soldiers, engineers, and strategists filled the hall, waiting for his guidance. He stood tall, his armor gleaming under the light of the holograms. "Fear is the enemy before any battle," Kale said firmly. "If you let fear control you, the Vorath will win without firing a single shot. We must be smart, creative, and ready. Remember, they expect the predictable. We will be unpredictable. We will use our home, the city, the palace, the skies, to our advantage, and we will work together." The room was silent, listening intently. Kale's words carried weight not because of fear, but because of trust. The soldiers could feel it. Even the queen watched quietly, understanding that this human had the ability to turn ordinary warriors into extraordinary defenders. Amara, beside Kale, asked quietly, "How can we face such a fleet? They are so large, so powerful." Kale looked at her calmly. "Strength alone is not enough. Intelligence, courage, and creativity will decide this battle. We will not fight them head-on. We will make them fight on our terms." The next day, Kale led his squads on a reconnaissance mission. Small, fast ships were dispatched to gather information about the Vorath fleet. Kale taught the pilots to move silently, to use space anomalies as cover, and to predict the enemy's movements. Every decision emphasized flexibility and quick thinking, skills that the Aurorans had rarely prioritized in their usual training. When the scouts returned, their reports shocked the council. The Vorath fleet was massive, hundreds of warships, each armed with devastating weapons. But Kale had already noticed weaknesses. "Their formation is too rigid," he explained. "They rely on rules and predictability. If we use their expectations against them, we can strike where they are weakest." High Commander Solon raised an eyebrow. "And you believe humans can teach us to do this?" Kale nodded. "Yes, you have skill and technology, but I bring something different, unpredictability. Together we can turn that weakness into strength." Over the next few days, Kale drilled the squads in advanced maneuvers. He taught them to split into small units, to set traps, to move through the city silently, and to use the environment strategically. He worked closely with Amara, showing her techniques to protect civilians and inspire courage. Amara soaked up every lesson, feeling herself grow stronger, braver, and more determined. During one exercise, Kale noticed a soldier hesitating under pressure. The young warrior's hands shook as he aimed his weapon. Kale placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "Trust yourself," he said. "You are stronger than you think. Humans have a saying, courage is not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Now move." The soldier nodded, took a deep breath, and performed brilliantly in the exercise. Amara watched, understanding what Kale meant. Courage was not just physical. It came from the mind, the heart, and the belief that one could rise to any challenge. As the day of the Vorath's arrival approached, tension in Aurora Prime reached its peak. Citizens prepared shelters, soldiers readied weapons, and the council worked tirelessly on strategies. Yet Kale remained calm, his presence a steady anchor in a sea of fear. That evening, Amara and Kale walked together in the palace gardens, the moon casting silver light over the crystal fountains. She turned to him, worry in her eyes. "Do you think we can stop them?" she asked softly. Kale looked up at the stars, his expression thoughtful. "I do not know if we can stop all of them," he said honestly. "But I know we can make them regret coming. I know we can defend our home, protect our people, and survive. That is enough for now. Strength is not just in numbers or weapons. It is in courage, intelligence, and determination. If we have those, we have a chance." Amara nodded, feeling a strange mix of fear and excitement. She realized that Kale's presence had changed her. She felt braver, smarter, and more confident. She understood, in a way she never had before, that humans could bring something extraordinary. even in a galaxy filled with advanced civilizations. The next morning, scouts reported the Vorath fleet entering the outer orbit of Aurora Prime. Massive ships, black and silver, loomed like giants in the void. Energy shields shimmered along their hulls, and weapons glowed ominously. The city trembled as the reality of the invasion became undeniable. Kale gathered his squads on the training grounds. "Today is not a day for fear," he said. "It is a day to act. Remember your training, trust yourselves, trust each other, and be ready to adapt. The Vorath may be powerful, but they are not invincible. Their strength is rigid. Our strength is unpredictable. That will be our advantage." The soldiers stood in formation, their faces determined. Even the Queen and Princess Amara joined, observing closely. There was a sense of unity, a feeling that Aurora Prime, though outnumbered, had a chance because of one human warrior and the lessons he had taught them. As the first Vorath ships entered the atmosphere, Kale led the squads with precision, not relying solely on technology or weapons, but on tactics, intuition, and creativity. Drones, soldiers, and small attack teams moved unpredictably, confusing the enemy, striking where they were weakest, and retreating before the Vorath could react. Amara, watching from the palace, felt her heart race. The city she had always known was now a battlefield, but she felt hope. Kale's teachings, his courage, and his humanity had given them a chance they would not have had otherwise. The shadows of war had arrived, but the light of human ingenuity and bravery shone brightly, preparing Aurora Prime for the battle to come. The sky above Aurora Prime burned with light. The Vorath fleet had entered orbit, their massive black ships casting long shadows over the crystalline towers of the city. The citizens below watched in fear, unsure if their home could withstand the oncoming storm. The hum of energy shields and the sound of defense systems being activated filled the air. Princess Amara stood on the balcony, her eyes fixed on the enemy ships. Beside her, Kale prepared the squads for battle. His presence was calm and commanding, inspiring confidence in everyone around him. Soldiers lined the streets, ready to defend their world. Drones hovered in formation, and holographic projectors displayed strategic maps of the incoming Vorath assault. "Their fleet is massive," Amara said quietly. "Can we really stop them?" Kale looked at her, his eyes steady. "We can, not by strength alone, but by intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Remember, they expect us to act in predictable ways. We will not. We will fight differently, and that is our advantage." The first wave of Vorath ships descended, firing energy blasts that lit the sky with deadly light. Buildings shook under the force, and alarms rang throughout the city. Soldiers fired back, their weapons precise, but the enemy's sheer numbers were overwhelming. Kale moved quickly, leading a squad through the streets. They used the environment to their advantage, leaping from rooftops, ducking behind energy barriers, and setting traps for the Vorath drones. His strategies were unconventional, confusing the enemy at every turn. Where the Auroran soldiers would have followed standard protocols, Kale encouraged improvisation, using creativity and quick thinking to exploit weaknesses in the enemy formation. "Watch their patterns," Kale shouted. "They repeat moves predictable. Use it." A group of Vorath drones swooped down, aiming at the city's energy shields. Kale signaled the soldiers to scatter and flank. Using rooftops and hidden alleyways, they attacked the drones from unexpected angles. The drones were destroyed one by one, unable to adapt to the unpredictable movements. Amara followed Kale closely. She had learned from him over weeks of training, and now she applied everything she had been taught. Her movements were precise, yet fluid, unpredictable, yet effective. She led a small group to protect civilians trapped in the lower city while Kale focused on strategic strikes against enemy targets. Meanwhile, the council watched from the palace control room. High Commander Solon leaned forward, his eyes wide. "I've never seen anything like this," he said. "Their defense is not just about weapons, it's intelligence, flexibility, and courage. Kale is changing the course of this battle." As the battle raged, Kale noticed a massive Vorath warship preparing to fire on the city's main energy hub. If the hub was destroyed, the city would lose power and the shields would fail. He quickly devised a plan. "Amara, take a team and protect the civilians near the hub," Kale ordered. "I will lead the strike against that warship, trust me." Amara hesitated for a moment, fear creeping in, but she saw the determination in Kale's eyes and nodded. "Be careful," she said. Kale led a squad in fast attack ships toward the massive warship. The enemy's defenses were strong, but Kale's strategy relied on unpredictability. Instead of approaching head-on, they used the shadows of nearby asteroids and the energy distortions of the city's shields to move undetected. The squad unleashed a coordinated attack, hitting weak points Kale had identified. Energy blasts and precision strikes disabled the ship's main weapons. The Vorath soldiers inside were thrown into confusion, unable to respond to the unconventional tactics. Within minutes, the massive ship was crippled, drifting away from the city, its power systems failing. Back in the city, the other squads continued to defend against waves of Vorath drones. Kale's strategies had taught the soldiers to adapt, improvise, and think creatively. They moved with agility, using buildings, rooftops, and even narrow alleyways as cover. The Vorath, trained for straightforward combat, struggled to predict their moves. Amara, leading her squad near the energy hub, faced a group of Vorath soldiers trying to breach the defenses. She remembered Kale's lessons: stay calm, use your surroundings, and act unpredictably. She signaled her team to split, creating confusion among the enemy. Using clever maneuvers, they drove the Vorath back, securing the civilians and preventing damage to the hub. The battle continued for hours. Vorath reinforcements arrived, but Kale's tactics kept them off balance. He moved from squad to squad, giving instructions, adjusting strategies, and inspiring courage. Soldiers who had once doubted themselves now fought with confidence and creativity. Even the most experienced Auroran warriors were learning new ways to fight, ways no simulation could teach. At one point, a Vorath drone managed to break through the defenses near the palace gates. Kale rushed to intercept, using a combination of speed, strategy, and ingenuity. He dodged energy blasts, used the city's architecture for cover, and disabled the drone with a precise strike. The soldiers watched in awe, realizing the human warrior's abilities went far beyond what they had imagined. Amara joined Kale, and together they coordinated a counterattack that pushed the enemy back. Their teamwork was seamless, a blend of Auroran skill and human ingenuity. The city's energy shields remained intact, and the civilians were safe. High above, the Vorath fleet commander realized that their standard tactics were failing. Their formations were disrupted, their attacks predictable, and their soldiers disoriented. They had never faced an enemy that could adapt so quickly, fight with such creativity, and inspire such courage. Kale observed the enemy from a high vantage point. "They expect fear," he said. "They expect us to follow rules. We will show them that Aurora Prime is not easy to conquer. Strike smart, strike together, and never stop moving." The soldiers followed his instructions with precision. Small teams moved unpredictably, attacking weak points, creating distractions, and protecting civilians. Each success boosted morale, and the Vorath, despite their numbers, began to retreat from key areas. Amara felt a surge of pride. She had seen the city and its people transformed. Kale had not only taught them to fight, but had shown them the value of courage, creativity, and adaptability. The Aurorans were no longer just warriors. They were thinkers, strategists, and heroes in their own right. By nightfall, the Vorath fleet had suffered significant losses. Their warships were damaged, their drones destroyed, and their soldiers disoriented. Aurora Prime had survived the first wave of attack, not through sheer power, but through intelligence, adaptability, and the courage of its defenders. The Queen watched from her balcony, her face calm but proud. She had doubted the human warrior at first, but now she saw the truth. Kale's presence had given Aurora Prime an advantage no technology alone could provide. The city, the soldiers, and even her daughter had been transformed. Kale stood beside Amara, both of them looking at the stars above. The battle was not over, but the first victory had been won. "We did well today," Kale said quietly, "but the Vorath will return. We must continue to train, to adapt, and to be ready. Victory is not a single moment, it is a journey." Amara nodded. "I understand, and I want to learn everything from you. Together we can protect Aurora Prime." Kale smiled. "Yes, together." As the night settled over the city, the lights of Aurora Prime shone brightly. The citizens, inspired by the courage of their defenders, began to believe in hope again. The Vorath fleet remained a threat, but the human warrior had proven that even against overwhelming odds, intelligence, adaptability, and courage could turn the tide. The battle for Aurora Prime was only the beginning. The shadows of war had arrived, but the light of human ingenuity, courage, and the spirit of the Aurorans shone brighter. Kale, the human warrior, had not only defended the city, but had shown that even the most advanced threats could be challenged when bravery and creativity worked together. The queen, watching quietly, knew that the future would not be easy. But she also knew that with Kale by their side, Aurora Prime had a chance, not just to survive, but to thrive. And as Princess Amara looked at the human warrior she now called my warrior, she realized that he was more than a protector. He was a symbol of hope, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humanity, even among the stars. The night was quiet now, but the city was alive with determination. Aurora Prime had faced the first shadow of war and had survived. And with Kale's guidance, they would continue to fight, adapt, and stand strong against any threat the galaxy might send their way. The battle had ended, but the air above Aurora Prime still hummed with tension. The Vorath fleet, weakened and demoralized by Kale's strategies, had retreated into deep space. Their ships, though formidable, had underestimated the ingenuity, courage, and adaptability of Aurora Prime's defenders. The city was safe, at least for now, but the scars of conflict were visible everywhere. Craters in the training grounds, damaged drones, and a few shattered buildings. Princess Amara walked through the streets, accompanied by Kale. Citizens lined the streets, bowing their heads in respect, offering words of gratitude. Children ran alongside them, eyes wide with admiration, mimicking the movements of the warriors as they passed. Amara felt her chest swell with pride. The city had survived because of Kale's teachings, his leadership, and the bravery of her people. Kale, she said softly, they are looking at you as if you are more than human, and in some ways you are. Kale shook his head with a modest smile. I did not do this alone. The soldiers, the citizens, and you all made this possible. Humans can inspire, but courage must come from everyone. Amara looked up at him, understanding the truth in his words. He had taught them how to think, how to adapt, and how to act bravely, but the spirit of Aurora Prime had made those lessons real. Together, they had turned fear into strength. The queen watched from the palace balcony, her eyes scanning the city. She had ruled for decades, guiding her people with wisdom and care, but she knew that history often remembered those who could face the unexpected and transform it into opportunity. Kale had done just that. In the span of days, he had changed not only the soldiers but also the heart of the city. Your Majesty, High Commander Solon said as he approached, the people see him as a hero, and so do we. He is not just a warrior, he is a symbol of hope. The queen nodded. Yes. And symbols, when used wisely, inspire generations. Kale's presence here is more than assistance. It is a legacy in the making. That evening, a ceremony was held in the main square of the city. Citizens gathered in thousands, their faces lit with torches and lanterns, cheering for the warriors who had defended them. Kale stood at the center, humbly accepting the respect and admiration of the crowd. Amara stood beside him, holding her mother's hand as she addressed the citizens. Today, the princess began, her voice clear and steady, Aurora Prime has shown the galaxy what courage, intelligence, and unity can achieve. We faced an enemy stronger than we imagined. But we did not face it alone. With bravery, adaptability, and the guidance of a remarkable human warrior, we have protected our home. Let this victory remind us that even in the darkest times, hope and courage shine brighter than fear. The crowd erupted in applause, cheers echoing through the towers and streets. Kale's face remained calm, but inside he felt a quiet pride. He had not come to seek glory, but he understood the importance of hope. Aurora Prime had gained more than a victory in battle. It had gained confidence, resilience, and belief in the power of the human spirit. After the ceremony, Kale and Amara walked through the palace gardens under the soft light of the moon. The city was quiet now, the echoes of battle replaced by a calm sense of renewal. Kale, Amara said, her voice gentle, you have done more than defend the city. You have changed us, changed me. I cannot thank you enough. Kale smiled faintly. You do not need to thank me. You believed in what was possible and you acted. Courage is contagious. You showed others how to face fear. That is more powerful than any weapon. Amara looked at him, feeling a mix of admiration and wonder. Do you ever wonder why you came here? Why Aurora Prime? Kale paused, looking at the stars above. Perhaps the universe has a way of guiding those who can make a difference. I do not know why I came, but I know that I was needed. And now, we have begun something that will last beyond this battle. Meanwhile, the council convened to discuss the long-term implications of Kale's arrival. Aurora Prime had faced a threat unlike any in recent memory, and it had survived, not through technology alone, but through adaptability, creativity, and human ingenuity. His methods are unusual, one council member said, but effective. We must incorporate them into our training permanently. Our soldiers have learned more in weeks than they have in decades. High Commander Solon nodded. We must. Kale has shown that even the most advanced technology cannot replace intelligence, intuition, and courage. Humanity has something the galaxy cannot ignore. The Queen listened quietly, pride in her eyes. She had seen her daughter inspired, her soldiers transformed, and her city saved. Kale's presence was more than temporary, it was a turning point. Aurora Prime was no longer just a realm of precision and order. It was a place where creativity, courage, and human ingenuity had a permanent place. Over the following weeks, Kale continued to train the soldiers, but also worked with engineers, strategists, and leaders to improve defenses and strategies. He encouraged innovation, creative problem-solving, and trust among all citizens. Aurora Prime began to change, not just in technology or tactics, but in spirit. People were braver, smarter, and more confident than ever before. Amara spent as much time as she could with Kale. She trained under his guidance, learning not only combat skills but also strategy, leadership, and the value of courage under pressure. She began to understand why humans, though rare in the galaxy, could make such a difference. Their ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to inspire others was unmatched. One day, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the city, Amara asked, Kale, what will you do now? Will you stay with us? Kale looked at the horizon, where the stars glittered like diamonds. I will stay as long as I am needed. But my work is not just here. There are other worlds, other threats. Humans are few in the galaxy, but perhaps we can help others as we helped Aurora Prime. But I will always return here to this city and to you. Amara smiled, her heart full. Then you are truly my warrior, not just in battle, but in everything. You inspire me to be stronger, braver, and wiser. Kale nodded. And you, Princess, inspire me. Your courage, your intelligence, and your heart are as remarkable as any human's. Together we can face anything. As the months passed, Aurora Prime flourished. Trade resumed, schools and training centers thrived, and citizens rebuilt what had been damaged in the battle. Kale's teachings became part of the city's culture. Soldiers were trained not just in weapons and tactics, but in creativity, adaptability, and courage. The city became a beacon of hope for neighboring worlds, demonstrating that even against overwhelming odds, intelligence, bravery, and unity could overcome any threat. The Vorath Collective, though still a threat in the galaxy, had learned a lesson. Aurora Prime had survived where other worlds had fallen. They had faced a human warrior, and they had underestimated the power of adaptability, ingenuity, and courage. The legend of Kale spread across the stars, inspiring other civilizations to embrace human ingenuity. One quiet evening, Amara and Kale walked together in the palace gardens. The fountains reflected the moonlight, creating dancing patterns on the crystal paths. Do you ever think about what comes next? Amara asked. Kale smiled. Always, but the future is not something we can control completely. We can shape it, protect it, and guide it. And now Aurora Prime is ready for anything. We have shown that even in a galaxy filled with danger, courage, intelligence, and humanity can make a difference. Amara looked at him, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and admiration. You have changed everything, Kale. You are more than a warrior. You are a symbol of hope, strength, and the potential of humanity. Kale nodded, looking at the stars above. And that is why I came, to show what humans can do, to inspire courage, to guide, and to protect. And now I see that Aurora Prime can do more than survive. It can thrive. The Queen watched from the balcony, a quiet smile on her face. Her daughter, the city, and even the galaxy had been touched by the arrival of a single human warrior. Kale's presence had changed history, and the legacy of his courage and ingenuity would last for generations. As the night settled over Aurora Prime, the city shone with light, hope, and determination. The shadows of war had been pushed back, and the people knew that no matter what the future held, they could face it together. Kale, the human warrior, had not only defended a city, he had inspired a civilization. Princess Amara whispered softly, looking at him, "My warrior." Kale looked at her, understanding the meaning behind her words. "And I will always be here to protect and inspire," he replied. The stars above Aurora Prime twinkled brighter than ever, as if the universe itself recognized the arrival of a remarkable human. And in the hearts of the people, a new era began, one where courage, intelligence, and humanity would guide their path among the stars. Aurora Prime had survived. Aurora Prime had grown stronger. And the story of a human warrior and the princess who believed in him would be remembered forever.